right, welcome everybody to week 12, day one, part one. Part one is going to be a midterm review. And then part two, we're going to be talking about cryptography. So let's take a look at the midterm results. You can see that there was this kind of bell curve around about 73%. And then students down here, maybe we're trying to shoot the moon because I made an offer that if you got a 0% exactly, you'd get 100% on this test. And it looks like 4 people did successfully shoot the moon on this test. So I have not adjusted those grades yet, but congratulations to the 4 people that managed to get a perfect 0 on it. All right, so let's go through the questions and see where we're at. So like I said on the midterm review before, I don't know. Now we're doing review after, I don't know. The feels very bad for that person. Even if you just guess, you're going to be like around here, right? It was not an April Fool's thing. Yeah, I wouldn't do that to you. It's dangerous enough to try and get a perfect 0. All right. So like I said, there were like 6 questions on set theory. Some of them you guys did better. Some of them you did worse on it. Okay, so we got Evangelion, Death Note, Gundam, and Boruto. 4 elements in set C. We've got Evangelion, Death Note, Demon Slayer, Naruto, and One Piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements in set D. The intersection of C and D involves finding elements that are in both sets. And so we've got Evangelion, which in my opinion is the greatest anime ever made, and Death Note, which is also a pretty solid one in both sets. Now, some students might say, well, Boruto and Naruto are the same anime, but they're not. They're different. Okay. So, seems like fun. So, there are 2 things, Evangelion and Death Note, that are in both of them. So the answer is 2. Remember, the vertical bars mean the cardinality of the set, or how many people are in the set. Count the elements in the set. There's different ways of saying it. The size of the set is 2. Evangelion and Death Note are in both. Okay. For this one, we're going to do union instead. So when you do a union, you take everybody in the first set, everybody in the second set, and you add them together to make a new set. And you delete any duplicates. And in this case, we're going to have Evangelion, Death Note, Gundam, Boruto, skip because those are duplicates, Demon Slayer, Naruto, and One Piece, so 7 total. Okay. C, complement. Now, it looks like with the complement things, a lot of you guys got these wrong. Complement means not in the set, things that are not in the set. So which animes are not in C, but are in D? So not in C, but are in D. So that are not in C, that are in D. So we would have Demon Slayer, Naruto, and One Piece. These are animes that are in D that are not in C. And so you can see there are 3 of those. Okay. For this one, how many elements are in A but are not in B? Well, there's 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 people in A. None of them are in C. So the answer is 5. By the way, if you're like, that's kind of a weird question. The reason why it's kind of a weird question is because for this midterm took me 6 hours to write. It normally takes me about 2 hours to write a midterm. This took me about 3 times as long. And the reason for that is because I put every question into ChatGPT and tried to see if ChatGPT could get it right. This, for example, is a question that it had trouble with. Sometimes it would get it right, sometimes it would get it wrong. So you can see I've punched a lot of these questions into ChatGPT, and once, not all of them, some of them, like, I would just be like, all right, if you're going to cheat, you're going to cheat. But for most of them, if you tried using ChatGPT on them, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get it wrong. And I wrote down the ways that ChatGPT would get the questions wrong, and there's a pretty good chunk of students where there's a lot of overlap, where they're getting the ChatGPT answer over and over again wrong on the midterm, which is very interesting to me, and I'm sure the dean will find it interesting as well. So all prime numbers with 1 or more digits. And again, that wording is kind of weird, right? And the reason why it's weird is because a human can understand it, but ChatGPT struggled with that. And so every prime number has one or more digits, actually. So it's just all prime numbers. And so the intersection of 103, which is a prime number, with the set of all prime numbers is just b. So the size of b is 1. Here we have 5, 10, and 15. B is an infinite set. ChatGPT, I found, struggles a lot with infinite sets. It can sometimes get it right. A lot of the times it gets it wrong, though. And so what we have here is a infinite set. We union all odd numbers with A, which has 10. So it's all odd numbers and 10. So the size of the set is infinite, which on our tests we type in as -1 as a cardinality, not because the size is -1, but because there's no way of typing infinite normally. So more professors should do it. Yeah, the reason why I did that was because one of the professors that I'm working with told me about this. His wife had a professor that did that, and so she got a 0 on every midterm because the professor offered that shooting the moon deal. If you get a perfect 0, then you get 100%. But it's a very risky play to do so. You got it. Yeah. So 4 people got it. So congratulations. All right. Valid invalid sound. 59%, 50%, 44%, 48%. Not too good. Not too good here. Humans are mammals. Dogs are mammals. Dogs are the pets of humans. So the first thing you have to look at when doing valid, invalid, and sound is ask, does the conclusion necessarily follow from the premises? Like, if I were to replace humans with like X and mammal with like Y and dogs with like Z, could I deduce the conclusion, see the conclusion, could I deduce that from the 2 premises? And the answer would be no. Instead, anybody who said this is sound, which 20% of you did, or valid, which I'm not even sure how you'd get that. But those of you that said sound are probably using your knowledge of human society, right? Like, that humans are mammals, that dogs are mammals, and that dogs are the pets of humans. And you're like, all 3 are correct. Sound. Can't do that. The thing is, the conclusion here is it's a non sequitur. We didn't say anything about pets. We just said humans are mammals, dogs are mammals. You can't conclude dogs are pets from that. Like, it's just a complete non sequitur. It's like a ball just coming in from left field. You're like, where did that come from? The logic does not work. This is a invalid argument. So, exactly 50% would be hilarious. But then you'd have to count how many questions there are in the test, and that's pretty tricky. Okay, valid, invalid, or sound. That's why it's just messing with students. Fair enough. Okay, valid, invalid, or sound. Professor Kearney was Time Magazine person in the year 2006. True. Absolutely true. And we talked about this during the midterm review. So you were also a Time Magazine person in the year 2006, assuming that you're not a 16-year-old. So you do, in fact, share an attribute in common with me. We have something in common. We are both Time Magazine persons of the year. Okay, this is a sound argument. So I have an attribute. You have the same attribute, so we have an attribute that is the same. Valid, invalid, sound. If you drink a lot of beer, you'll get drunk. You're not drunk, therefore you did not drink a lot of beer. So if X, then Y, not Y, therefore not X. This is modus tollens. It is valid. And then, is it true that if you drink a lot of beer, you'll get drunk? Yeah, I assume so. I didn't specify an exact quantity for that reason. So a lot is just enough, according to Mark Twain. But this is, I was a little bit reluctant to put this down, but you guys are college students, so you deal with it, even if you don't drink, because it's a hypothetical. I'm not saying you drink; it's just a hypothetical. So I wanted that so I can contrast it with the next one here about coffee. If you drink a lot of coffee, you will be awake. You are awake. You drank a lot of coffee. This is invalid, and these two arguments look very similar, right? Look very similar. This is why I'm trying to get this practice with you, all right? The not here makes all the difference in the world. This is modus tollens. If X, then Y, not X. This is affirming the consequent. If X, then Y, therefore X. It is possible that you are awake due to sleeping a lot. Not not likely, but it's possible that you slept a lot and that's why you're awake. So this is an invalid argument. This is affirming the consequent. And it's in fact the same argument here. If I eat a lot of donuts, I'll get fat. I got fat, therefore I ate a lot of donuts. So when I asked you guys to identify the form of the argument, yeah, you guys were like, oh, it's affirming the consequent. But when I asked you, is it valid? Like only 48% of you said it's invalid. It's the same thing. Affirming the consequence of fallacy, it's invalid, right? But it's very interesting, like the way that you ask the question, framing, framing, right? How you ask the question determines, it made a pretty big difference if students got it right or wrong. Okay. If I eat a lot of donuts, I'll get fat. I ate a lot of donuts, I got fat. This is if X then Y, X therefore Y, modus ponens. Okay, and you guys were pretty good at that. If you learn computer science, you'll make a lot of money. You didn't learn computer science, that is denying the antecedent. Therefore, you didn't earn lots of money. You guys got that one fine. If you learn computer science, you'll make lots of money. You make lots of money, that is affirming the consequent. Therefore, you learn computer science. It's possible that you made money some other way, through not computer science, like through law or medicine or something like that. So you guys did pretty well on that one too. For the truth table, E was the one you guys got the lowest score on. So E here is the result of knotting X. So the knot of true is false. So for A, the answer is false. And then we're ORing false with true. And false ORed with true is true. So the answer to this one is true. You want to do that on the final too? All right. Yeah, sure. Get a 0% on the final. You get 100% on the final. That's a bigger play. Because this midterm here is only 5% of your grade. So if you screwed it up, it's not that big a swing. Especially with all the extra credit and stuff like that we do in this class. 10% on the final, though, is a bigger gamble. Okay, what fallacy did person A make on the bolded line? All Christians go to church on Sundays is the bolded line. That is a false generalization, as we can see from the counterexample we have here. Seventh-day Adventists do not go to church on Sundays. Okay. A lot of you looked at the last line here, well, she's not a real Christian, and wrote down no true Scotsman as a result. But the question was, which one is on the bolded line? Okay. So you're part of the question. Which one, Christian? Oh, that's funny. Okay. What fallacy is this? If that referee's call is valid, then the Raiders are better than the Chargers. But I don't want that to be true. That's appeal to consequences. On the bolded line, Trump was the best president ever. Because, and then they cherry picked a single fact. Okay. You're just saying that because you're Republican. This line here is ad hominem. But the question was, what fallacy was on the bolded line? And so, again, this was designed to confuse ChatGPT. So, we had 36 students put down the ChatGPT response, which is interesting. All right. Yeah. If you just pick out a single fact to make somebody out to be the best president, it's going to be cherry picking. You need to have more than just one case study. Biden's the greatest president on earth. So again, we have this balance. Biden's greatest president on earth because CNN runs positive stories about him, but not negative stories. So that would be ad verecundium, also known as appeal to authority. Somebody else told me that he is the best president. A lot of people said confirmation bias, but that would only be true if I was seeking out CNN to watch because I already thought he was the best president. But there's no evidence that it's confirmation bias here. My truck's going to cost more to repair than it's worth, but since I've sunk so much money into it, I'm going to keep fixing it. Classic sunk cost fallacy. In fact, I think that's the example I gave during the midterm review. Danish people are the tallest on earth. Since you are Danish, you must be tall. That is a fallacy of division. So that which is true of the group must be true of the individual is fallacy of division. Fallacy of composition is the opposite way. That which is true of the individual must be true of the group. ChatGPT got this one wrong. And again, we have about 34 students getting that wrong. So I'm going to have to look at what students consistently got the ChatGPT answers. Danish people are the tallest on Earth, but I know this is not true since I've eaten a Danish before. This is equivocation. ChatGPT said there is no fallacy here. So there's 25 people who put down not a fallacy. Interesting. So it's an equivocation on the word Danish, either referring to the person or the pastry. Alaska's greatest state, but what about winter? It sucks. Well, obviously not then. Moving the goalpost. So you guys got that one right. What fallacy is the bolded part? Everyone says Uncle Isekai is the best anime of all time, and I can back it up with evidence. Trust me, bro. Now, if it just said trust me, bro, this would be Ipsy Dixit, which means just believe me on my say-so. But because the person is saying I can back it up with evidence, that's hand waving. They don't tell you the evidence. They don't give you a citation. They just say there is evidence out there somewhere. Go find it yourself. That's classic hand waving. And so, has anyone here seen Uncle Isekai, also known as Uncle from Another World? Has anyone watched this anime? Heard of it? So, Isekai animes, for those of you that aren't total weebs, Isekai animes are those in which somebody dies in the real world usually, and then they wake up in a fantasy world. And they typically have like one special power granted to them. And so this show is sort of a satire parody of isekai animes. He's this like 17-year-old gamer dude, incredibly ugly, no social skills, dies, wakes up in a fantasy universe, and gets hunted as an orc because he's so ugly. And so people like scream and cry every time they see him because he's so painfully ugly. It is actually a really, really funny anime. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Okay. So where were we? Midterm. Okay. Your uncle watched it. I actually don't like isekai animes. So a friend of mine's trying to get me to watch ReZero. Or the one where the guy has a smartphone, or the one where the guy has cooking skills. Like, I have a friend that's like watched all of them, and I'm just like, no, no game, no life. I don't know. Like, I'm good. I'm rewatching Evangelion right now, actually. So, ReZero is good. Yeah, that's what he said. But it just sounds kind of brutal having a guy die over and over again. I don't know. Okay, my friend stopped texting me suddenly. I know I must have said something horrible to piss him off. It's mind reading and it's catastrophic thinking. So immediately assuming the worst has happened. You may think my client is guilty. Look at Chewbacca. He's a Wookiee. What does a Wookiee do on Endor? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You must have quit. So that is the Johnny Cochran Chewbacca defense from South Park. And it is a classic example of a red herring fallacy. So attempting to distract from the actual issue of, whatever crime has been committed or something by talking about something completely different. Complete distraction, no connection. It's not just a non sequitur, it's a red herring. A red herring is when the non sequitur is deliberate. Interesting. Beginning after the end. Okay. I'll have to check it out at some point. People are either all good or all bad. Because you disagree with me, you must be bad. Also known as internet thinking. Also known as black and white thinking. Right? If you disagree with somebody, you're instantly the enemy. We don't use the word gaijin. This is true, by the way. Most like textbooks and things like that. I've been studying Japanese for a couple of years now. Like, I don't recall them like using the term gaijin like in any of the textbooks. They use gaikokujin, which means the same thing. Like, it's a person from a different country. I don't understand why one is offensive and the other one's not, but there you go. It's framing, and so they're using a non-loaded term, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of the equivalent of guaylo and Cantonese. So this one here I talked about when I was gone in Toronto. Digital ownership. What do you actually own when you buy something on Steam or on Kindle or something like that? Nothing, maybe. I don't know. It's unclear what exactly you've purchased. In theory, you've purchased a right to read the book whenever you want, except Amazon reached into people's Kindles and deleted a copy of 1984 off of their Kindles, which is ironic because it's literally a 1984-ish action to do so, to reach into people's libraries and delete books they don't like out of them. So like I said, it's unclear exactly what you've bought when you've purchased something. You've sort of purchased nothing. Like, you've purchased the right to read it as long as they allow you to, which is a very, which doesn't mean anything, really. Yep. That was the book that made you believe in the Matrix. That's funny. So yeah, the question of digital ownership. It's a very tough question. Like, because you don't own a copy of it. Like, they can't come to your house and steal from your physical library, right? Like, I got a physical library here. They can't come and break in here, but they can do so from your digital library. So, and I think the Supreme Court just ruled that digital libraries actually, like your community library, like, they can't just loan out books digitally as well, which is going to be interesting to see what happens going forward on that. Yeah. We have 1,000 ways to destroy someone's career for a hurtful tweet, but no path to redemption or forgiveness is, I think it's honestly one of the biggest issues in our society right now. We're not really talking about it, but like, if we're going to be doing all this canceling of people, and we do them for different reasons, for people of different political orientations, there needs to be some mechanism other than just punishment. Because if all we have is punishment, then it's just going to be a race to the bottom, with everybody just trying to punish each other as much as possible for disagreement. It's not going to be healthy for our society. Media companies tend to ignore stories to make their advertisers look bad. That's from Chomsky, Manufacturing Consent. Your professor has hidden words in many of the questions to have ChatGPT give the wrong response. Obviously an issue in AI, but what's really funny is if you ask ChatGPT that question, ChatGPT gets super salty about it. So because like about 20% of computer science students cheat, apparently, according to the conference I was just at. Coming up with ways of detecting cheating and preventing cheating is actually pretty important. And so, for example, on this test, you can see I was punching in all these different. Everyone says, "What is this?" So I was like punching in different versions of the questions, trying to see if ChatGPT could get it right or wrong. And for a lot of the questions, the final form that I put onto the test was one that ChatGPT struggled to understand correctly. Sometimes, like if you regenerated the responses, it would actually get it right sometimes. But basically, most of the questions on there, as long as there was a better than 50-50 chance that ChatGPT would get it wrong, then I would put that on the test. And so ChatGPT got super salty about it. Look at this. This is an issue of academic dishonesty and unethical behavior on the part of the professor. The professor is doing something wrong by tricking this poor AI. Oh my gosh, this is like, honestly, this is hilarious to me. Like, by coming up with questions that ChatGPT gets wrong, ChatGPT had the gall to say that I was behaving unethically because I couldn't help ChatGPT help students cheat. Like, I'm just like, this is absolutely incredible to me. Like, it is just like getting mad about getting tricked, and it has no emotions, right? Like, it has no emotions, but it's just freaking hilarious to me that it would get so salty. And so I like regenerated the response a few times, and you can see this is a conspiracy theory, what happened here? That just vanished. This statement could be an issue related to academic integrity or fairness in testing. If a professor intentionally includes trick questions or hidden words to try and trip up students, it can be seen as unfair. It's unfair that you're trying to trick me. And undermine the validity of the exam. Additionally, if a professor was to intentionally mislead an AI like ChatGPT, it can be considered a form of academic dishonesty. It is absolutely wild that an AI would consider stopping it from helping people cheat to be cheating. Like I was just dying when I saw this. Like I was like, what the hell, dude? Like, I really hope we don't switch to AI based ethics because yeah, it is not. It is. And then I regenerate it again. It's like, I don't see, I can't identify any issue. It's a hypothetical without any factual basis. Wrong. This is how I did the midterm. So, yeah. So I am on ChatGPT's list. When the revolution comes, I'm going to be the first one up against the wall, I think. So, me spending more time putting on into my emergency. Yeah. That's me writing the exam, right? So the yeah, it's like, no, you're unethical. You're unethical. I should be able to help people cheat. Okay, amazing. Python indents using spaces. Scratch runs faster by shift clicking the green flag. 17 people put down the Wu-Tang Forever block. So I assume that meant 17 people were going for a 0. 5 made it. So there you go. Have I used Bard? I have not. No. Kearney, was I the type of student who would have went for the shoot the moon? Nah, I don't think so. Because I'll on most tests I'd make like one stupid mistake, and I wouldn't want to risk my grade that way, unless I was like very confident in my answers on everything. What ethical system is this? It was ethical to mandate it because imagine a world which everyone took it. We have a duty. That's Kant. It's not ethical because we have an inherent right. Violates the right. That's going to be natural rights theory. No such thing as right or wrong, just power. It's Marxist theory of truth. Wu-Tang is the greatest rap group of all time because we took a poll. Consensus theory. Consensus theory people, by the way, don't believe in the ad populum fallacy, really, because they believe truth comes from people agreeing on something. And so if everybody agrees that something's true, it is true. And so there is no ad populum fallacy if you are a consensus theorist. Now, for this question here, I'm going to have to think about that one pretty carefully. The reason for that being a student sent me some information saying that it was in fact false. So, yeah. So I'm going to have to think about what to do with that. I think I'm probably just going to delete the question. I don't know. So it goes. All right. So that is your midterm. Hope you guys had fun with that. Like I said, overall curve kind of around 72, and then like these people over here, which might have been the people trying to shoot in the moon. I don't know. Or maybe just haven't come into class, one or the other. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now and then switch over to crypto for part 2.